This week's episode is sponsored for dailygiving.org. Great organization. Gives out $1 a day on your behalf, which is awesome because every day you're giving charity, no matter where you are in the world, no matter where you are in life. But what's great about this is when you collect all the dollars together, they actually make a huge difference. And they're giving out tens of thousands of dollars a month to incredible organizations. Check them out, dailygiving.org, dailygiving.org. Be part of it. Why not change the world together? So this week's Torah portion has an idea in it that is maybe one of the most important ideas that I've ever heard. I heard this for the first time in my life almost 19 years ago at an NCSY Shabbaton in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The rabbi of the shul got up. It was shul's called PZ, got up and told this over. I was in the back and I heard it, and it has changed me ever since. It was said in the name of a great rabbi from Lakewood named Rabbi Malkiel Cutler. One of the most powerful ideas I've ever heard in my life. Listen to this. This week's Torah portion is the story of Jacob. Remember, last week Jacob had the whole thing with the blessings. He leaves his home. He heads down to his uncle's house, a man named Lavan. And in this home is where he marries his wives and builds the tribes of Israel. So he gets down and he goes to the well, because that's what everyone did back then. The well was like the place to go. If you wanted to find a wife, you go to the well. Today, it's more complicated. Then it was simple. Some nose rings in a well, all's good. Life's more complicated now. So Jacob goes to the well, sees Rachel coming, knows Rachel because he senses it. He's a spiritual being, Jacob. He's not just a human being. He's one of the forefathers. He didn't just see a woman. He saw his soulmate. He knew this was the one. Now, at the well, there was a rock. The way it works in wells, the wells was the lifeblood, the lifeline of the entire town. You needed to drink. So they were worried about what went into the well. If the well got poisoned, everyone would die. So they had this massive rock they would place on wells. And when everyone would get together at a certain time of day, shepherds and human and townspeople, they would lift the rock, they would draw the water, and they would put it back on. So here's Jacob by the well, seeing Rachel. And he's so moved by her that he goes to the well and he lifts the rock on his own because she was coming to ultimately draw from the well. And Rabbi Cutler asked the following questions. What do we care about the rock? Who cares? He's looking for Rachel. They're going to get married. They're going to build the tribes of Israel. So what? So wait 5 minutes for the shepherds to show up. What in the world is going on over here? I got to hear about how strong Jacob is. That's what I care about now. That's what we're honoring, physical prowess, the rabbi who knows the whole Torah by heart. I'm impressed that he can also bench 250. I care about how quickly he can run the mile. Who cares? That's not how we value people. The Torah has to waste words on Jacob being so strong that he pops the rock. And to go further, Rashi, who's a commentator, says he popped it like a cork out of a bottle. Really? He was big deal. It's a rock. Why did we have to detour even for a half a second to tell me that Jacob got the rock off the well? It's totally irrelevant to the narrative of the story of him meeting Rachel, meeting the family, and starting the tribes of Israel. You hear the question? All right, here's his answer. It's awesome. We live in the physical world. And so we think the way the world works is like this. Ability leads to responsibility. You have, you give. You're wealthy, you should give charity. You're brilliant, you should teach or share or write. You have good personality, be good to people. You're a parent, you have children, give to children. Whatever the things that God gave you, abilities, responsibility. Make sense? See it all the time. People feel blessed, now they have to give. That's a physical way of seeing the world. The way the spiritual world works is actually backwards. The way it works in the spiritual world is like this. Ability doesn't lead to responsibility. Responsibility leads to ability. There's a world that has to work. And this world is spiritual. And in the world of spirituality, the people that gain ability, the people that are able to become something, aren't those people that have it given to them for no reason and they on their own go and share it. The way it works in the spiritual world is like this. Stuff has to happen. People need to be taken care of. things need to move in God's world. And God looks down the world and goes, who is out there that's going to help my world develop? Who's going to be able to help people and do things and raise and act? Who's going to go out there and be able to move my world forward? And the people that take responsibility for things before they even have the ability are given the ability to do so. It's not ability leads to responsibility. It's responsibility leads to ability. People that give before they can are the ones that get. People that take care of little kids before they know how to. You think a parent knows how to take care of a child when the parent has a child? What parent brings a child home from the hospital for the first time and like gets it? Nobody. Whoever starts a company and knows how to do that. Whoever starts a family knows how to do. Whoever gets married knows how to do that. Whoever does anything with ability. Living a life where you wait for your ability before you take responsibility is a very sheltered, very limited way of seeing the world. But taking responsibility for things that are in front of us, doing things because we should before we could, actually tap us into a source that give us ability that we never would have had, but for our ability to step into that world of responsibility, to be the person we're supposed to be before we know we could be, to be vulnerable before we know we're going to be able to make it. You know, the Torah told us that story for. It wasn't about Jacob and Rachel. It was about me and you and the rest of humanity. Jacob couldn't lift that rock. He wasn't his brother Esav. He was the one sitting and delving into spiritual wisdom, but the rock needed to be lifted at that moment. And he took responsibility for it. And because he took responsibility for something, God gave him ability he never would have gotten. Because when you take responsibility for doing something big, you gain abilities that you never would have had before. And we become the people that we're really meant to be.